Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you guys are doing really well. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be doing a renovation in house number 2. So the house I'm going to be renovating is the modern bungalow. I believe it's a base game house, or it come out with the like co-op DLC, which was free. I cannot remember really when this house came out, but I feel like it's been a long time since I've done a renovation, so I wanted to give another one a go. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out some of my other builds after this one if you would like to. And as always, there's timestamps in the description if you would like to skip around to a specific room, the tour, screenshots, or anything like that. But thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. So I wanted to do another renovation because I feel like I haven't done one in a really long time, and I thought that this one would be nice because I really like the look of this house. When I first saw it, it was one of the ones that I knew I wanted to like renovate at some point, but I've just been so preoccupied with like custom builds and stuff. But I finally got around to wanting to do this one, and I really like the way that it looks because it's a pretty simple house, but I think it's really nice. So when this one came out, I can't remember if I showed it in a video or whatnot. I know that I had a look around it because it has like a secret room, but I completely missed a section of this house. I don't think I found it when I was like looking around the house when it first came out, and there's actually a whole sort of like a basement section to the build which I completely overlooked, and it wasn't until I was renovating this one that I actually found it, which I feel so silly about. The like section in the office, it was so hidden. It was really hidden. Like they blended in so well, and I think this came out before the Scooby-Doo DLC. We didn't have like the trap doors or like the doors on the floor that, you know, sort of like blend in with the flooring and stuff. So they just used I'm pretty sure it was resizable like corkboard pieces to cover the floor, and it blended in so well. I didn't even notice that there was like that on the floor when I was sort of like empty touring this place. And it wasn't until I was like halfway through the renovation that I actually realized there's a whole nother room downstairs. There's like a basement. So that was fun, and it turned into a bit of a longer project than I was expecting because I just saw like the base house with the like bedroom, office, like kitchen, living room, and then the bathroom, and then I found the basement and it added a whole another section to the house. But I'm really happy with this build. So the theme for this build is like a secret agent, and I feel like it's really fitting because when you put this house into sandbox mode, it's called House with Hidden Secrets. So I thought that a sort of like secret agent style home would be really fitting to like the style of the house, as well as it's secluded, the name of like what it is when you put it into sandbox mode, and then also this fact that it has like a hidden bunker, which I completely didn't find until later. So I thought it was just like a really fitting theme for the house. So to begin with, just going around and cleaning the house, getting rid of the furniture pieces and stuff like that. And as I'm selling stuff in the like what was the office in the beginning, I sell the rug, and as I was watching it back, I can clearly see that there's the stuff on the floor that's hiding the entrance, but as I was selling stuff, I completely overlooked it. I did not see it. It just blended in really well. I was like completely oblivious to it, and it took me a bit of time to figure it out. So I do change the layout of the house just like a really tiny bit. It's nothing too drastic. It's pretty much almost exactly the same as what it was. Where the office is still where the office is. I just make it a little bit bigger by closing in the room, closing in the wall in the bedroom, and then the walk-in like wardrobe section, I make that a little bit bigger in the bedroom, and I just make the bathroom section a little bit smaller. So it's very minute changes. And then in the living room section, there was a sort of like hole in the floor for a plant. I do get rid of that too, so that it's like all level. But pretty much the kitchen I don't really mess with at all. while I'm doing the living room, I do decide to put up a wall between the living room and the kitchen just because I was like struggling with the layout. But yeah, I don't really mess with the walls or the layout too much, and that's just something personally that I like to do whenever I come to do a renovation of a build. I will like move around the interior walls sometimes, but a lot of the time I just like to kind of keep them where they are as much as possible because that's just the way that I like to personally do the renovations. So it's not like a no demolition build or anything like that because I do change some stuff and I do build some extra walls, but it's really, really minute changes that I do. So the first room that I start working on with this renovation is the living room, and the theme for this, because of the theme, I wanted like secret agent style. I wanted the house to be pretty modern and kind of like dark, but not like too dark, just like, yeah, very modern and sort of like sleek, kind of black white with a few colors sprinkled in and stuff like that. The roof for this building as well, I don't really mess with the like exterior shape, sorry, too much either, but I really, really like this build. And the roof in the living room is like glass panels. I do double them up because that's again just the way that I prefer to have the like glass walls and stuff like that, especially if it's a roof piece. I just feel like it looks better if it's doubled up. So I do keep the glass ceiling in the living room, but I do double it up. So with the living room, I wanted to sort of like make a TV unit, and I've done the same thing before in a few different builds, just using counter cabinet, like wall cabinets, to create a sort of like floating TV stand and stuff like that with some storage up the side. At first, I couldn't get it to look right. I don't know if it was the grey colour that I was using on the cabinets that I was just really, really hating, but I couldn't get it to look how I wanted it to. But I got there in the end, and I just ended up going for a nice wood cupboard. They don't the like wood grains on the cupboards that I have for like the storage side in the living room, the wood grains don't match up, and it was kind of really bugging me a little bit. But it was just like the texture, there wasn't really anything that I could do about it. But I mean, it looks okay, but it was just bugging me that the wood textures weren't like matching up with each other. But it really wasn't a big deal. Also in the living room, I do decide to add in a wall between the living room and the kitchen. So I wasn't originally gonna do that. I was just gonna keep it as like full on open plan. I mean, it's still kind of open plan because I don't put like a door or anything, but I was going to have it like fully open. But I did decide to put up a wall between the living room and the kitchen, because in the living room I have a corner sofa with a little table in the middle, a nice rug, and then I do have a chair off to the side, and the chair was like backing onto what is the kitchen, and I didn't mind it with it being open. I thought that it looked nice, but then I also didn't like how the cupboards that I made for the TV unit just kind of like cut off. So I wanted there to be some sort of like separation between that and the kitchen. So that's when I decided to build the wall between the living room and the kitchen. I still think that it looks like nice. It does make the living room a little bit smaller, but I think that it's nice and it's like pretty cozy. And then with that wall that I used as the dividing wall between the living room and the kitchen, I ended up using the glass walls, and I put a bunch of those into that wall that is the dividing wall, and so it kind of looks like a glass wall but not. So you can still see into the kitchen from the living room through like the it's not really an archway, it's just like a gap. And then you can also see through because there's now like glass windows in that wall, which I really, really like. I've not really done anything like that before, and each one of them, so one of the glass panels is like, I use the move tool and it's further towards the living room, and then the one next to it is further towards the kitchen. So it kind of like acts as little shelves on either side as well. And then I just put in some plants on that. And I feel like it looks really, really nice. It's kind of like a feature wall because a lot of the walls in the living room are just like a grey colour. I also don't really mess with the windows too much. I like to, when I do renovations, I just like to try and renovate them as if it's like not a full sort of full on makeover. So sometimes I will change the windows, but sometimes I won't. And I really like the windows and sort of like their positions in this house anyway, so I didn't want to mess with them too much. I do move a few of them and then I add a couple, especially to the bathroom, but I just wanted to keep as much as possible to this build. And so the living room, the walls are very sort of like concrete grey, and I feel like that also really fits with a sort of like secret agent sort of, I mean, it's not a minimalist house by any means, but it's definitely not very cluttered. I mean, as you come through the front door, there's like bookcases, and one of them is like the secret bookcase to go into the office. But that's probably like the most cluttered place of this house, I would say. But it's like a nice cluttered because it's, you know, it's bookshelves. It's supposed to have like books and decorative bits on it. But the house as a whole is very sort of like modern, and like I said, it's not minimalist. Like there is stuff, but there's not like tons and tons of stuff. It's sort of like very easily kept clean, I guess, and very sort of like raw and concrete style. The other thing that I do in the living room, because where I decide to put the sofa, I don't know if it's a weird place to put the sofa. I don't think it is. But where the fireplace is, I could have definitely sort of like moved the fireplace or changed it. But again, I didn't want to mess too much with that sort of stuff just because, again, that's just how I personally like to do renovations most of the time. But with the fire, I was thinking to myself, I could keep it as a like an open fire, but I actually ended up using one of the new fires. I can't remember when it came out. I think it was with the Christmas stuff or it was the Scooby-Doo stuff. I can't remember, but we got a bunch of new fires, and I end up using one of those and sinking it into the wall so it's flush. So rather than it being a real fireplace, it turns into an electric one, and I really like the way that it looks. And then later down the line, I don't show myself doing it, but I do put a really small shelf above the fire and just a couple of little decorative bits because I thought that it was looking pretty bare. But yeah, the living room is just very sort of like I mean, the whole build overall is pretty modern. The house has a lot of like brown and black and white in it, but the living room, I put in some plants. I put up some lights on the wall because where it had the glass ceilings, I wasn't sure where I was going to get light into the house. Obviously like light from daytime would be fine, but like lights for ceiling lights and stuff like that, so I just ended up going for some wall lights and then some floor lamps, as well as I put a little sideboard behind the sofa, and that has just a picture on it as well as a little lamp, and just, you know, it's just a little storage place. So the sofa, I end up going for a sort of like it's kind of like a forest green blue color, and it adds a nice color to the living room as everything else is very sort of like brown and black. And then I add some cushions to the sofa. Some of them are patterned ones, but then they're just like black, white, and then there's like a brown one in there as well to match the rest of the furniture in the house. So once I'm done with the living room, I move on to the entrance, and the entrance was actually pretty big. I kind of wish now, I think if I was to redo this house, I would really change the floor plan up because I feel like the entrance is kind of big. There's not very much that goes on in the entrance. I just make the walls like patterned, like a patterned wood, and then I also make them pretty dark. A lot of the furniture in this house is pretty dark, so the entranceway, the furniture is pretty much all black. There is a little sideboard table for like keys, posts, stuff like that with a mirror. There's some shoes, a little mat to wipe your feet, and then there's just a sort of wardrobe with some storage in it. And on top of that, I just put a bag. There's also a umbrella stand that I put in the entranceway. And then the storage with the wardrobe that I put in the entrance, it has a couple of shelves in it, but some of them are kind of big, and I wasn't too sure what to do with it. So later on in the video, I don't actually show myself doing it because it was like a last minute decision, but I do end up putting in some extra shelves to it, just using the move tool and the resizable shelves. And I have it so like it's full of hats. So he's a secret agent, doesn't want people to really like see his identity or anything like that. I don't know, or maybe he just likes hats. We'll just go with that. He just likes hats. So I fill it up with hats and I make them all different colors and stuff. I feel like some places in this build are a little bit hard to see without the lights on, and I think the entrance is definitely one of those places because it is quite dark and a lot of the furniture is black. So just a pretty simple entranceway really. I think if I was to redo this house again, I would make the entrance a little bit smaller because I feel like it's a little bit big. But if I was to do this house again, I think I would completely change the whole floor plan as well. But for the first like renovation, I really wanted to try and keep as much of the sort of like original shape and layout as possible. So I'm really happy with it. But yeah, the entranceway is a little bit bigger than I would normally like to have, and normally I'd maybe like to have a door, so you'd come in through the front door, you'd be in the entranceway, and then you'd go through another door before you're actually like in the house. But yeah, the entranceway is just it's very dark. It's very dark but pretty simple. So after I'm done with the entrance, I move on to the kitchen. So the kitchen, I knew I wanted to be sort of like along the same lines of the rest of the house. So the kitchen is very sort of like dark as well. All of the cupboards are black with a white marble countertop, and the top cupboards are also black. And I originally wanted to have a sort of like the oven that's sort of like built in, so it's like an eye level oven. I originally wanted that, but I didn't really like the way that it was looking. And one of the cupboards, it's like it goes along with the eye level oven, but it's literally just like a cupboard. That cupboard would not go against the wall. I had to end up using, I think it was either the move tool or I had to turn it off of the snapping, but when it would snap, it just would not go against the wall, so it was always bumping out like one square, but not like one whole square, just like a tiny little bit. But I didn't end up using that anyway, so it wasn't really a big deal. But yeah, the first layout that I do with the kitchen I wasn't liking, so I ended up changing it. I was also going to have a dining room table in the kitchen, but I decided to go with a breakfast bar instead. So yeah, it's just a very black and white kitchen. I do use tiles as the backsplash for the majority of the kitchen counters as well, but the section of the kitchen that backs onto where the fireplace is, that I really liked that sort of like stone texture, and I thought that it was a nice little feature of the house, so I wanted to keep it. So the sink just backs onto the fireplace wall, and yeah, I wanted to keep that like that. I don't know if it maybe looks a little bit weird, but I feel like it would have looked weirder if I would have tiled just the kitchen side. If I would have like bricked it off completely so the kitchen and the living room were completely separate, I feel like it would have looked okay if I would have tiled the bottom half and then like painted the top half of the concrete wall. But seeing as I didn't do that, I didn't want to mess with it, so I just kept it, and I think it's a nice like little feature piece of the home. But yeah, the floor tiles in the kitchen as well, to add a little bit of extra something, I decided to go for the black and white checkerboard, and I really like that I really like that pattern for like floor tiles and stuff, so I use that. There's a little island with a breakfast bar, and the stools for the breakfast bar are the same color as the sofa to kind of like meld the colors in together. And then there was a sort of like empty wall behind the breakfast bar, and I wasn't sure what to do there at first, but I wanted to do some sort of like little drinks bar. There is a furniture item that come out with the Scooby-Doo DLC, and it's like a little bar like console table thing. I'm not exactly sure what the name is in the store. Again, really bad with remembering the names of the stuff, but it has like glass panels on it, so you can actually see into it from like both sides. And I feel like I was going to use that because I thought that would be a really good piece to use in the kitchen, and just the fact that I think it's more or less like a little like bar cart type thing. I don't know if it is. I cannot remember for the life of me what it is called in the store. I'm so bad with not paying attention to like what the items are called. I just look at them and then I'm like, oh yeah, I'll use that. I'm I'm really bad with being like, oh, okay, this says that it's like a laundry basket, but and then I don't use it as a laundry basket. But hopefully you get what I mean. If you don't, it's fine. And just I'm really, really bad for paying attention to like the names of items or like what they're called. Okay, just out of curiosity, I went into the game and it is actually called a bar table. So I was correct, but yeah, I was gonna use that in the kitchen because I wanted a sort of like bar drinks area. So instead I just ended up putting some kitchen counters on the back wall and then some shelves and then putting some sort of like drinks on the shelves as well as glasses and jars full of like lemons and stuff like that if you wanted to make a fancy cocktail or anything like that. But yeah, it's just like a little bar section as well as some extra storage. Something else that I like to do is we do have like bottles of so like wine and what I can only imagine as like whiskey and stuff like that, but the potion bottles that come out with, I think it was, I'm pretty sure, yeah, it was like a Halloween update at some point, and they're not part of the DLC, I don't think, unless they're part of the Scooby-Doo DLC. They may be part of the Scooby-Doo DLC, but I'm not entirely sure. But there's like potion bottles, and those I use sometimes to act as like other sort of alcohol like drinks containers. I kind of ignore what they say on them. Like some of them say like invincibility and stuff like that, or invisibility, I can't remember which one. Memory like a sieve, apparently. I just go in and I like to like place things and I just like start building, and I'm just so bad with paying attention to like the names of things, but they're really cool for like acting as other sort of like drinks containers and different things like that. If you didn't want the labels on show, you can just like rotate them around and stuff like that. But they're another item that I use occasionally for other sort of like drinks things, because we can change the color of like the liquid that's in the bottles of like wine and the whiskey bottle and stuff like that. But just for like different shaped bottles and stuff, I like to use the potion bottles. Sometimes I use the potion bottles as well in the man cave that I did to act as sort of like, I don't know, like limited edition alcoholic beverages and stuff like that. Maybe like collectors want them. I don't know. I don't drink, so I don't really know, but that's what I was thinking in my head. Maybe weird, maybe not. It's fine. But yeah, that's the kitchen. I put in a couple of plants as well in the little on the floor, as well as in the little indents from the glass panels that lead into the living room. And I really, really like that wall. It's a nice feature wall. I don't know if it's maybe a bit too much to have that as a feature wall, but then also have the fireplace as the feature wall. But I don't think the fireplace is too much, like, it's too out there, I guess, as it was like already in the house and there's a lot of concrete that goes along with it anyway. So I feel like the main feature wall that's in the living room is definitely that wall with the glass panels in it that I put a couple of plants on. And then when I'm done with the kitchen, I just start decorating the hidden bookshelves that are sort of like down the corridor leading towards the bedroom and the bathroom, and sort of like just in front of the entrance. So as you come through into the house, you're literally pretty much greeted with a wall of bookshelves, and that's exactly what I wanted, because one of them is the hidden door to go into the secret office. So kind of like maybe you wouldn't know that it's there. Obviously, if you don't know that it's there, only one of the bookcases is like the workable door. They are all the openable like hidden bookcase doors, but only one of them works, and it's the one closest to the bedroom. And then on the interior of the office, I've actually blocked it off so you can't see the front of, or would it be the back of the doors? Regardless, you can't see that there are doors on the inside of the office, if that makes sense. Hopefully when we get to the office, you'll get what I mean. But because they're all, these doors are the ones which obviously, like, one side's a bookshelf and one side is a door, they fit sort of like seamlessly into the brickwork, and I really, really like those. But if you wanted a wall full of bookshelves, it's a little bit annoying because on the other side of the wall you would have like a bunch of different doors, which to me I don't really like. I don't really like the idea of that or the look of that. So for this build I did brick it off, so the door that does work when you go into the office, it's a little bit thicker, but it's fine. It works out pretty well, and I just didn't want to be able to see the doors on the other side because otherwise then it would have been a wall that was full of doors, and I just didn't like the idea of that. So I did brick it off, but you guys will see that when I get to finally doing the office. But yeah, I just wanted to decorate a little bit of the shelves. The sort of like knickknacks, decoration bits, like clutter pieces, whatever you want to call them, those are the things that I think really take up a lot of my time in House Flipper 2, especially as well like choosing the colors of things and all of the different books that I put on the shelves. I don't want them to all be like exactly the same. There are a few stacks of books that do share the same sort of like color patterns and stuff like that, but a lot of the individual books where you can change the covers of them, like I wanted to make sure that there were no duplicates next to each other, and I just wanted it to be sort of like, you know, a decorative shelf place with some photos, some statues, some vases, but primarily lots and lots of books. And I just wanted it to look as natural as possible, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So I used a combination of the already stacked books in just like the plain colors, the already stacked books that come out with the Sakura DLC, as well as making my own stacked books with the books that you can change the front covers of. Those ones are honestly my favorite. I like the pre-stacked books, I do, but they annoy me sometimes because you can't have them as like actual book covers. Does that make sense? Like you can paint them a plain color or you can have them be like a patterned color, which is fine because it makes them like look a little bit different and stuff. But I would have liked stacked books where they had like the front covers on them of the books that we can put front covers on. Hopefully that makes sense, but they're the individual books, and they're the books that I love using the most in like all of my builds. Whenever I do like shelves or just like put a book on a table or anything like that, those are my favorite books, and we have a lot of different front covers to them, so you can make like nice stacks of them. Yeah, they will like repeat themselves, but they can always look like different and stuff, and I really like it. But I think the bookshelf section is like one of my favorite areas of this build, which I don't know if that's a bit weird, but I really like how it turned out. And I feel like if you didn't know, then you wouldn't know that there was a door there. It just looks like a wall full of built-in bookshelves, which is exactly what I wanted. I didn't want just like one bookshelf because I feel like that would look a little bit more conspicuous, I guess. So I wanted them all there, but the only problem was on the opposite side, it was just like doors. So yeah, I blocked that off. But yeah, just a little bit of decorating the bookshelves. I did try and lay out some decorations on the floor before I started, so it alleviated me constantly going into the store searching for something and then putting it out and then constantly in and out of the store, just because of the way that I like to edit these videos. But yeah, really happy with how the shelves work out. And then once I'm done with decorating the shelves, I don't go through and like change all the colors to the books and stuff in the video because it was just taking a really long time. I just wanted to get the basics sort of like decoration and layout and stuff, and then I do go in off camera and change all the colors of the books and stuff, which you guys will see later on in the video or in the tour and stuff. But once I've done that, I move on to the bathroom. So with the bathroom, it is a couple of squares smaller than the original bathroom because I made the walk-in wardrobe in the bedroom a little bit bigger. It's really not like a huge difference. The base sort of like size of the bathroom is pretty much the exact same apart from like 2 blocks. So in the bathroom I wanted a separate shower and bathtub. It's kind of like a wet section. There's no like, I think what I could have done, or maybe what I should have done, but I think it would have interfered with the basement below, is I think I should have made the bath and the shower section be like 1 block down into the floor, so it's sort of like sunken, but I didn't. It's just kind of like a wet room style, which I don't think is like bad at all. But the bathroom has a separate bathtub, shower, some storage, obviously a sink, toilet, and then the washing machine and tumble dryer is also in the bathroom. And I completely forgot about the washing machine and tumble dryer. Normally I'm quite like on top of that stuff. Sometimes I'll stick the washing machine tumble dryer in the kitchen, sometimes the bathroom, or sometimes I'll like make them their own like little room. I put them in the kitchens a lot of the time because in the UK we don't really normally have like separate rooms for our like washing machine and tumble dryer, and they're also normally not anywhere near the bathroom. They're normally always in the kitchen or like in a like utility room that's adjacent to the kitchen. So but I do really like to stick my washing machines and tumble dryers in the bathroom sometimes, but most of the time I will like them to have their own sort of like little cupboard. And in the bathroom was quite big. Again, I think if I was to redo this house and I was to just like remove all of the walls and completely make my own floor plan, the bathroom wouldn't necessarily be the shape that this one is. It's quite long, and the area where I end up putting the washing machine and tumble dryer, I wasn't sure what to put there, but I thought it was like a really good spot for a washing machine and tumble dryer. The area in the bathroom where I end up putting the washing machine and tumble dryer, I wasn't really sure what I would use it for, so that's when I decided to use it for a washing machine and tumble dryer. But I do separate it because I didn't want it like in the open, but it's quite a big section, so I ended up using the shoji doors from the Sakura DLC, and I used 2 of them so it can like slide open from both sides. So you've got the washing machine and tumble dryer one side in like a double stack, then you have a little a laundry basket in the middle, and then to the other side you have just like a little it's a kitchen counterpiece, but I'm just using it as like a storage piece, and then there's some shelves above, so it's a little bit of storage for like towels, stuff like that, also a hidden away place to put like dirty laundry and everything. So I think that it worked out pretty well, and because I used 2 shoji doors, you can slide it open so you can get to the washing machine, and then you can slide it open so you can get to the cupboards. So I really like that, and I'd done it so it was kind of like frosted glass, and I think that goes quite well with the rest of the bathroom. So the bathroom is very sort of like, it's very black and white, but the tiles that I use are sort of like a marbly brown. It kind of reminds me of like murky water. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but there we go. And then the windows in the bathroom, I pretty much left them the same, though I did add 2 new full-length windows where the bath and shower is, and with those, as well as the windows above, like the higher up windows, I used a fence piece because we still at the moment can't change the glass color of like just normal windows, so I would really like that. So I decided to use a fence piece and make it a sort of like frosted glass, so it's kind of what you can still see out of it, but to me I'm thinking it's like frosted glass, just so you can't, it's not super see-through. So I used that, and I used 2 separate fence pieces for the full-length windows near the bath and shower, and then I just used one for the windows that are above the toilet, sink and bath. Hopefully this will make sense when we get to that room, but you can't really see it because it just blends into the brick. The brick hides the poles and stuff that are attached to the fence. So that worked out really well, but for the almost floor to ceiling windows, I had to use 2 pieces because the fence only stretches, like it only resizes in one way, so I had to use two to cover both windows. But yeah, that's the bathroom. It's just very sort of like black and white again. With some towels, a few decoration bits. I use one of the shelves as a sort of like, I push it into the wall so it makes the shelves a lot more shallow, or a lot shallower, sorry. And that's above the bathtub, and then I just put in there some little decorative bits like aftershaves or perfumes, shower gel, stuff like that, a couple of plants and a little photo frame. And then the toilet roll holder is just attached to the sink using the move tool. But yeah, that is the bathroom. And then when I'm done with the bathroom, I move on to the bedroom. So this house only has one bedroom. It only had the one bedroom when like you buy it. I think it could probably definitely become like a 2-bed. But I mean, obviously, yeah, it definitely could become a 2-bed, but one of them that could be the bedroom is like, I've kept it as the office. But the bedroom is also quite dark. A lot of the furniture is mainly like black. Then there's some cushions that are brown, there's a rug that's brown, and then the same floor from the living room and the hallway comes into the bedroom. The headboard piece of the bedroom is sort of like a plastered or limestone. I can't remember exactly which one it was that I used, but it's like the one, again, I think it came out with the the Sakura DLC, and I really like it, but it's only very subtle that you can see it because I use such a dark color. I think I used the darkest so like gray black to do the headboard piece. I put up some photos of plants, 2 bedside tables, and I create another sort of like TV unit the same way that I did in the living room, but the one in the bedroom is just I use the smaller what are they called, the smaller cabinets, the sort of like rectangle ones. And yeah, it's just that there's not like tons and tons that goes into the bedroom. As I mentioned earlier on in the video, the house it's quite modern, but there's not like there's tons and tons of stuff everywhere. It's sort of like easy enough to keep clean. And it's like, if I think of like a secret agent, I think so, like, you know, everything has to be in its place and everything has to have a place, and there can't be like too much around and stuff like that. But yeah, it's very sort of like minimal, but not super like minimalist where you only have like a bed and nothing else, if you get what I mean. And then the walk-in wardrobe, as I did make it a little bit bigger, but that I just used the sort of like a modular wardrobes and put the corkboard piece on the front because I don't like to see the glass personally. And then just some decorative bits in the wardrobe, but not much, literally just like a mirror, some bags, some shoes on the floor that maybe he's taken off and he hasn't put away yet. So maybe he's a little bit messy, but most of the time he likes things to be very sort of like in their place and kept clean, not too much out on the sides, only sort of like necessary things. But when we go down into the sort of like secret bunker place down there, it gets a little bit more messy, not like super messy, but there's a lot of stuff down there, but I think it makes sense. But yeah, so that's the bedroom. The bedroom does also have sliding doors leading out to the back garden, or like the deck area, and that was there pretty much when you buy this house anyway, so I didn't really mess with that too much. I just moved over the windows, and yeah, I just moved them over, and I doubled them up because I didn't like how the sliding door was like poking into the room too much. So I doubled up the windows that were surrounding the the sliding door, sorry. So once I'm done with the bedroom, I move on to the office, which is the one hidden through one of the secret doors in the hallway. Originally, the door to the office was in the bedroom, but I wanted to change it because I didn't like it there, and I wanted like the wall of shelves, and I really like how that turned out. So in the office section, again, it's a very sort of like black. A lot of the furniture is black wood, and there's a desk in there, a nice like sideboard piece at the back of the room with some shelves, lots of storage for like important documents and stuff like that. And I put up a couple of like glass cabinets, or just like the one glass cabinet, and then the other cabinets that I use on the back wall, one of those has like 2 glass cupboards in them so you can see what's inside. But the office, I just do like the desk, a few little decorative bits, and the corkboards and stuff that were in the builds when you buy it, I wanted to keep them because I thought to myself I wanted to make my own style one as well. So I do that, and you guys will see that through the tour. I just put some pictures up of my own, and then just some random pictures and stuff, just being a little bit random with it. Honestly, it might not make any sense, but it's just like some things that I like and different things like that. But I wanted to keep the corkboard pieces up in, like, I wanted to keep them. I didn't want to sell them because the pictures and stuff that are on them, they're not in the game for you to like re-add them to pictures and stuff, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. But I wanted to keep them because I thought they could be 3 separate boards for like 3 separate sort of like things or jobs that he's working on. So we've got the one with all of the different buyers for the like homes and stuff. Obviously there are new buyers now since like the DLCs and stuff have come out, so it's a little bit outdated now, and now that we have like more buyers because we've had some more DLCs and stuff. But I wanted to keep it as I couldn't have like recreated it as well, I don't think so. I wanted to keep that, and I wanted to keep the other board that was also in the room, but I also wanted to try and make my own, which is just honestly very random. It's very random. It doesn't really like make much sense, but it's just random stuff that I like, or some like pictures of pets and stuff like that, just random little bits. So I wanted to make my own, but I wanted to keep the ones that were already here as well when you buy the house. So I made sure not to sell them when I was going around selling all of the stuff. And then in the office there's just some computer bits, some cameras, there's quite a lot of phones scattered around the home. Like burner phones, or like certain work phones for certain people or clients, stuff like that, different jobs. And then the school bell, I'm pretty sure it come out with a Sakura DLC, or it's just like a base item that come out along with the Sakura DLC, but because there's a sort of like house or building that you can buy in the Sakura DLC, which is a school, and when you buy that one, if you guys haven't like bought it and had a look at it is so cool. I think they did a really, really good job on that like whole build. The like huge builds are really still not like my favorite things. I definitely prefer like the smaller ones, but they did a really, really, really good job with that one, and I loved going around and having a look at it once I had bought it. But that one's really, really cool. But that one's huge. I could maybe at some point I would like to turn that into like a huge house, like a school turned house or something like that. But that's a really, really, really big job, and I feel like sometimes I'm quite slow with house flipper things, or I'm quite fussy about them, or I just like the way that I like to decorate and stuff, or just like when I think about doing a big build, or if I have a big build planned, it panics me a little bit, and I feel like I have to have some smaller builds leading up to it. So I feel like if I'm gonna do a big build, or if I have a big build planned at all, I have to get some like smaller-ish builds done and ready to go up leading up to it, because the big builds, honestly, like I feel like I start working on them sometimes like 2-3, sometimes even a month before they are like ready to go up, because they just take me so long. But yeah, that's why I don't do like really, really big builds very often. But that one, they did a great job on it, and I would absolutely love to renovate it at some point. It would take a lot. It may be like a 2 or 3 video process. Like the large like luxury mansion that I did, that was like 3 videos, 2 build videos and a tour. But yeah, anyway, that's a really, really a really cool build once you buy it, but it is a lot of work and it's pretty big. But yeah, the office, I do put some TVs up as well, just acting as like different CCTV to either the house or maybe like different places that he needs to keep an eye on. But yeah, the office is just, it's just kind of an office. There's some decorative bits, like maybe some things that he's brought along his travels. There's a Torii gate, a fan, a lantern, some samurai swords, and like an old TV, as well as some like VHS tapes and different things like that. There is just like a chair in the office as well, and there is a rug, and the rug is what's hiding the trapdoor. So originally when I come into the office, I didn't realize that like the panels on the floor were there, because I think that this house come out before the Scooby-Doo DLC come out, so that was before the sort of like trapdoors, or not trapdoors, but the doors that just look like flooring were like introduced. And so I actually swapped out, because it was just, I'm pretty sure they were corkboard pieces that were placed on the floor. When I was looking at them after I'd figured it out, I was like, okay, they don't match up, but just as like a glance, I did not realize that they were there, and I did not realize that there was a whole room below. It was a while into the build before I realized that there was a whole room below, and I felt so silly because I thought that this was just going to be like a smaller build for me to do, and then there's a whole new room. There's a whole new room underneath. So this one actually took a little longer than I was expecting. I just thought, oh yeah, it's a nice little small house, I'll just renovate it. And then I found a whole new room, and lo and behold, it took me a little bit longer to do. But I ended up swapping out those corkboard pieces for an actual sort of like door. So during the tour, I'm hoping it doesn't seem like too awkward. I've tried to make it a little bit seamless by doing the tour, but moving the chair and the rug out of the way, and then like opening up the door and stuff. But the door does open without moving the rug, which is weird, but the chair just like moves with it, which is really weird. So hopefully like the tour and everything, it looks kind of seamless. But yeah, that is, if you move the chair and you move the rug, there is a door that leads down to the basement. So when I go down to the basement, there's just the stuff that was like there when you buy the house, because as I said, I didn't find it until a little bit later on in the build, and I just thought that I would leave everything in that room until I come to it. So after the office, I go down and I start to do the basement, and I start to sell a lot of stuff. There's some shelves down there with some different like produce and different stuff, like tins of like beans and tuna and all that kind of stuff. So I end up leaving those, and there's stairs that lead up to another door that is on the outside, and I changed that door as well to be a trap door as well, and I keep it kind of hidden, so if you don't know it's there, you don't know it's there. And then when I go and do the garden, I actually like try and hide it with some bamboo and stuff, so it's not super noticeable that there's a path down there that will lead you into a secret bunker. But I also didn't like that the stairs there led straight into the bunker. I wanted the stairs to lead down into like a really tiny section, and then there's sort of like a passcode thing on the door, and you have to do that before you can go into the bunker. So you can get to the bunker from that way, or you can go through the house, which is secure anyway. So I just didn't like the idea of the bunker door on the outside leading like literally straight into the place where all of the secret stuff is supposed to be going on. So I did add another wall down into the bunker area, and I did change the layout of the bathroom a little bit, because there's actually a bathroom down there, and I just make that a little bit different. There's still a shower, a sink, and a toilet in there, but it's just laid out a little bit different, and I just move some of the walls. But yeah, I sell the majority of the stuff in the like bunker area, and then I start decorating. I wanted this area of the build to be sort of like the real sort of a secret section where a lot of this stuff, like the important stuff and the stuff that needs to be kept really secret, is kept. Obviously we have the office upstairs, which some secret stuff could be kept in there, but I really wanted the room down here when I found it to be like the super secret area. So I ended up custom making a desk. It's a big L-shaped desk, and I keep a bed down here just in case, and then obviously I keep the bathroom, and then I keep a little section with all of the shelves that had the things like the drinks and different things like that, just in case he's down here for a long time or he has to like hide out or anything like that. I wanted there to be enough like food, kind of like a prepper bunker, I guess, but I wanted that to be there. And as the shelves were pretty much already stocked, I just rearranged them and like added some more stuff to act as like dry goods and stuff. I do put a coffee machine and a microwave down there as well, you know, to like sort of cook some food if need be. There's also a fridge, but the desk section in the bunker office area is honestly, I think, one of my favorite things in this build as well, just because there's so much stuff on it. You know how like I was saying that maybe the guy who lives here could be like really meticulous about things being like tidy and clean and in their place. The bunker is a little bit, it's not like super messy. There's not like stuff absolutely everywhere where I don't think it makes sense. I think that everything makes like sense, but it's definitely a little bit more it's a little bit messier. There's a few like tapes and stuff that are scattered around and different things like that. There's lots of computers, lots of TV screens for CCTV around the house or like other places. There's a safe with lots of different money in it. There's a badge on the table. There's lots of different phones down in the basement section as well. There's like older computers, new. There's like 3 different towers that he's got for the different computers and stuff. Tons of files and folders and different books for different cases or different things like that, and just some cupboards as well. And that like there's a lot of TV screens down here. I think there's like 14 monitors down here, like a combination between TV screens and monitors like on the desk that are all like working or they've got like no signal and stuff like that, just for like different places. So it's very much sort of like a little agent area where he's got to keep an eye on a lot of different things. There's a drone down there, a printer, some weights because gotta work out a little bit. But yeah, I feel like this area would make such a good sort of like a gaming room if it wasn't for the theme that I decided to go for this one. But I feel like this would make like a great little like gaming room. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff everywhere, but I think it makes sense. There's also some water pistols or water guns, whatever you want to call them, that I put on the wall, pretending, you know, a secret agent, that like they're quote real. Obviously they're not, but I put those on the wall and I create like little glass cases for them, and I put like a little touchpad next to them, so you gotta input a code before you can get one out. There are also some scattered around throughout like the whole house, including the upstairs area, just in case. You never know what's going to happen. Is it probably me being a little bit too realistic again about this, or a little bit weird? But there are some scattered around throughout the house. If you do see any and you wanted to like put them in the comments, do let me know, because I'd be interested if you can see them while I'm like doing the tour and stuff. Some of them are kind of obvious. I don't think some of them are, but I'd be really curious to know if you guys could see any of the like hidden stuff like that. But yeah, the little like basement bunker area, it does have a bathroom as well, like I said, but it's just a shower, sink, toilet. It's quite simple in there. I decided to go for a brick theme down in the basement for the majority of the walls as well. I didn't want it to stay the like sort of like grey brick that it was. I wanted it to be a little bit more, I wanted it to have a little bit more colour, but also still resemble the fact that, you know, it's a brick basement. It's not like super cozy, but I feel like it could be kind of cozy down there. And then behind where the bed goes in the basement, there is just like the storage section for the food and everything. The fridge is there. There's some tools as well, just in case anything breaks and stuff. And then you have the door beyond that leads you to the other trap door, which will lead you outside to the garden. So that is the basement bunker area. You guys will see it like fully done in the tour and screenshots and stuff, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. I think my favorite area of this house is definitely the basement. And then when I'm done with the bunker section, I go out and I do the garden. So I wanted the garden to be completely, so I mean the house itself is pretty much surrounded by trees and stuff anyway, but I did build up a few more trees and I surrounded the whole property in a fence. And it's one of the fences that come out with the Sakura DLC, and I thought that it was the best sort of like fitting fence, as it looks kind of like sturdy. It looks like sturdier than some of the other fences, and I thought that it would go with the theme of the house and everything like that. But the garden is kind of simple. It did have like a big pool in the back garden, but it was kind of like it only come up to, like if you stand in it come up to your player's like knees or waist. So I ended up so like filling in some of the pool to give a little bit more of a deck space, so you can get to the like patio deck space. I mean, it's kind of, I guess, more like a patio or something, as it's not like decking, but you can get to it from either the kitchen or the master bedroom, or like, you know, it's the only bedroom that's in the house, so I guess, yeah, master bedroom. But out there I just put some so like sun loungers and then a seating area. It's very simple, I would say, so like very minimalist. There are some things, there's a couple of bonsai trees and stuff like that, but there's not like tons and tons I put out there. There's not like a dining table or a barbecue or anything like that I put out in the sort of like patio section. I do take some of the glass ceiling panels, or like skylights, I guess, and I put those sort of above where I put the pool, because I shrink the pool to make a sort of like lap pool. Nothing like too fancy, it's just a small lap pool, and I stick the windows above, so that lets in some light, because it's a big covered area, and with all of the trees surrounding it, I feel like you would get some natural light, but it wouldn't be like tons. So I wanted to add in another sort of like skylight to the patio area, just to give it some extra light. And then with the pool section, I try to make a sort of like waterfall fountain kind of thing. We have like pool fountains, again, I can't remember which DLC they come out with. I want to say it was the Scooby-Doo DLC, or it come out along with the Scooby-Doo DLC, but it's not specific to the Scooby-Doo DLC. I'm not too sure. I lose track, and we've only really had 2 DLCs. But with the DLCs, sometimes they'll bring out items that are like, they come with or like they get put into the game with the DLCs, but they're not DLC specific. Hopefully that makes sense. But yeah, we have some pool fountains. Unfortunately, they don't actually work, which is a real shame, because the sinks work, and I feel like there's not really a moment where you want to turn on the sink and just have the sink running. I don't know if that's just me, but I feel like it would have been really cool if the pool fountains like actually worked. But with the Sakura DLC, we actually got waterfall items, which, you know, it looks like a waterfall pretty much, and there's a few different ones, and I used some of those and the pool fountains to create a sort of like waterfall feature to going into the pool as something, because it was just looking a little bit bare out in the like garden patio area, and I wanted something, and the waterfall things, they just weren't looking right just on the edge of the pool. I don't know, I haven't really messed with them too much at the moment. I do have a couple of builds in mind, but I would really like to mess with the waterfall like new items and stuff, but I haven't got around to them. And and I wanted to try and make some sort of like waterfall or fountain to go into the pool, and I think that it worked really, really well. I did have to use a few of the fountains because you could see the edge of the waterfall section and it was really bugging me, so I ended up using a few different fountains and some resizable things. But I'm really, really happy with how it turns out, and I think it looks really, really nice just over the pool. You guys will see that later on in the video, or the tour and stuff. But yeah, I'm really, really happy with like the patio section. It's very simple, it's very black and grey, but I think it's really, really nice. And then with the garden also, I wanted a sort of like area that would be really sort of like serene and calm and just like relaxing. So I made a section in the garden full of just like the gravel and like the patterned gravel, the ones that you can make like round. Again, they come out with the security, you'll see. So I made a section like that, and it's fenced off with the bamboo fence, and I have tried to hide the bamboo fence as much as possible. You can still definitely see it because there's like it's sort of like a separate section, so it's gated off, so you have to go through a gate before you can get to it. But I've tried to close it in as much as possible with different trees and bamboo and stuff like that, because there wasn't really a color that I wanted to paint it. There is like the green bamboo, but I didn't like the way that it looked because it didn't take over every part of the fence. There's still like there's the sections in the fence that are still sort of like the original bamboo color, and you can't change them, which I find a little bit annoying. But there weren't any other colors that I thought looked nice, so I just kept the original sort of like bamboo color and pattern and just tried to hide it as much as possible with plants and stuff like that on the exterior, so you can definitely like still see it when you're not inside the little like gated off section. But I have tried to soften it a little bit with a lot of like bamboo plants and different things like that around the outside of it. But inside there's some lanterns, some bonsai trees, some bamboo, a little shrine, a little seat, some stepping stones, and then the like pebbles on the floor, or like the gravel that's been swirled around into different patterns with some bonsai trees in the middle and stuff. And it's a really sort of like calm area, so if you need to de-stress or just like unwind, this would be the place to come and do it. But I really wanted a section of the build that was like super, super calm, and I wanted to build this because originally in the spot that I built it, there was like a little fire pit section, or maybe not like a pit, it was literally just like a fire, and I was thinking to myself that I could have an area like that in this build, but I didn't want to do that. I was thinking to myself, oh, if you needed to like burn important documents or something, but I like this idea better, to have like a really, really calm section of the build where you can just go and like relax and stuff. And yeah, you can get like all the way around the property from the front. There's a nice pattern on the floor made out of bricks in this property, and I didn't want to mess with it, but I changed the color of it, but I didn't want to mess with the pattern because I actually really, really like it. So I kept that. It's kind of like a little drive. Now the gate for the property is quite small, but in my head I'm thinking it's actually big enough for a car to go through. I didn't want to mess around too much with trying to make a gate. I just put down the gate that matches the fence that I use, and in my head I'm thinking it's actually bigger. That might be a little bit weird, but it's, again, just sometimes the way that I think about things. But at the front of the house as well, there used to be a sort of like ramp as well as the steps. I decided to get rid of the ramp, just keep the steps and fill the bit that was the ramp in with some plants and different little bits like that. There's a few little pops of colour at the front of the house with some pink with like a cherry blossom, and then some plants at the front, but there's not tons of colour. The front of the house is still very sort of like grey and black, but I really, really like how it turns out, and I did decide to add a little bit of shape to the roof. It really hasn't changed the roof too much. I just made the sharp edges be rounded instead, and then the roof that's overhanging the front of the property, I decided to add another sort of like resizable curved piece to that to make it seem a little bit more rounded and just give it a little bit of shape. It's really not much, it's very subtle, but I really like how it turns out. And then the like very top part of the building, like the actual roof, I did go round and I got rid of all of the bushes that was up there, but I did also then go round and add in my own sort of like vines and stuff, so you can see them going over the glass roof when you look up through the living room and through like the patio section. And there's not like tons and tons of them, but there's quite a few of them, and I really like that better than having all of the bushes up there. I feel like the vines make a little bit more sense. But I decided to keep the sort of like turf green roof as a whole because I really like that. And then the only other part of the garden that I really messed with was the entrance to the secret bunker. So if you come out of the bedroom to the left, there's a little section with a little like lantern, and it's surrounded by bamboo and stuff, but you can actually go through the bamboo and you will be right on top of the like the door to go down into the bunker, so it's kind of hidden. You wouldn't really know that it was there. But yeah, that is this build. I'm really happy with how it turns out. It's very sort of like, I'd kind of say it's kind of luxurious, but it is very modern, very black, white, and grey. And I'm really happy with how it turns out. It was a little bit of a surprise to find out that there's actually a whole nother room in the basement, because I do not remember seeing that at all. Unless I just did and I completely forgot about it, but I really don't remember seeing that there at all. I know that there was the secret room with like the bookcase door, but I don't remember ever seeing the room below that. But yeah, that was a surprise. But so yeah, this has been a little bit of a longer build. It took me a little bit longer than I was anticipating. I got quite a few hours of recordings for it, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the build, or if you want to skip around at all, there are timestamps in the description as always if you want to just watch the tours, screenshots, cinematic, anything like that, or skip to a specific room. I just really appreciate you guys being here, so thank you so much for taking the time to check out this video. Leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you think of this build. If you've renovated this one, let me know what you've done with it. I'd love to know what sort of like style or theme that you've done with this one. Subscribe if you have not already and you would like to. I do a lot of custom build videos and renovations. Be sure to check some of them out after this one if you would like to. Leave comments. I love hearing from you guys, and just thank you so much again for taking the time to check out this video. I hope you enjoy the rest of it, or feel free to skip around, leave a like, all that kind of stuff, and I will see you all in the next one. Take care. Bye.